So we just watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. How do we feel?
Wow.
Very negative.
Negative.
How about you, Jake? How do you feel?
I'm not negative. I mean, I'm not positive. But like, I'm more positive than I thought I would be. Let me put it that way.
We are definitely in the quantum realm right now because
Yep.
I would describe myself as the Ant-Man apologist of the three.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the other two are grand films. I don't think they're the best the MCU has to offer, but they are a far cry from the worst. This has bottomed Iron Man 3. This is my least favorite MCU film.
Wow.
Yeah.
No shot.
It was trash.
I mean, I think I like Iron Man 3 better, but I don't hate Iron Man 3.
I don't like Iron Man 3.
My problem with the other two Ant-Man movies is that they're just comedies with like sprinkles of action that isn't great,
Yep.
with blah story.
Sure.
This film doesn't have an identity.
First of all, it's a better villain than Ant-Man's ever had. It's
You're
a better
right.
story than Ant-Man's ever had. It's got better scenes than Ant-Man's ever had, and both of the other ones.
I'd say scenes,
It's
yes.
got more emotion than both other Ant-Mans do. Those are just comedies with fun action and plot sometimes. Like, this is a genuine, like, there are themes that actually carry through. I don't know. There's stuff here that I super recognize and appreciate that the first two do not have a lick of. Which, again, I have to keep comparing it to just those two because it is not top shelf MCU. I'm so not praising this like it's a 10 out of 10 or anywhere close.
Because this just lacks so much focus.
It's so lacking in so many departments. The one thing I can give it, Scott and Cassie have really good father-daughter chemistry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Catherine Newton knocked it out of the park as Cassie. That being said, Cassie's been such a non-character in the first two films. She's just daughter.
Yep.
That her having a wildly expanded role in this one,
It feels out of left field.
it feels out of left field because they treat it like this was always where she's been going, but that's simply not the case. Granted, she's 6 years old in the first two. It's more of a product of the overall MCU because she didn't get blipped, and she has aged at least 5 years. We don't know what year this movie is supposed to be set in the MCU.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a teenager / young adult now. It just feels like they kind of hand wave away what happened to her in the interim and why she's like this, because as Ant-Man points out in the film, Hank, Janet, and Hope, the other three Ant-Men people, if you will, all got blipped. So there was no one who knew quantum technology, unless Lawrence Fishburne's character survived, but let's just Occam's razor, he probably didn't. So then she's like, yeah, I know quantum technology now too, and I was like, sure, fuck it, whatever. And she's like calling Hank Grandpa Hank, and I'm like, I'm really confused as to when they developed this dynamic. It just feels like they did a lot of like speed running.
I would
of
say
Cassie's character to
they've
get her
done-
to where they wanted her to be.
I would say they've done development as opposed to the other two where they didn't. That's why I like it better.
It's rushed. That's the only problem.
It's here. It was never
She's
here.
6 years old in the other two.
Sure.
So
I'm not saying it's like, oh, they should have done X, Y, and Z. I'm saying
Yeah.
that compared to those, this is a major step up in that department.
I just think it's a little rough, especially when the beginning of the movie, you get the intro to her character, and it's like bang, 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 bang. She has a relationship with Janet and Hank and Hope, and you're like, all right, slow down. Then they have the character development.
And then they
It
also
feels like they just added a lot.
and they
to the
also
character.
like spend the first like 15-20 minutes of the film criticizing Ant-Man
Yeah.
for some reason. They're like, what have you done recently? And he goes, very rightly so, I've literally saved the entire world. And they're like, oh, I've literally saved the... He did!
He did.
He
But,
did.
like,
He did!
The point of the movie is that like he's been riding that success and not really doing much since.
I guess, but they make it seem like he's being such a dick about it. They're like, oh, what have you done recently? It's like, bro.
Yeah.
It feels very, very strange that they're criticizing him. We don't know the time jump between that and this. It's very
Yeah, how long's it been? Like a year, 2 years, 3 years? Like,
it's very muddled.
I assume it more or less real time, maybe with a little bit of slide. But
so what do you mean by real time though? Because Endgame took place in
I mean,
2023.
in real time in relation to the other films, like say Endgame and on,
So it's been 4 years.
give or take.
That's not that long. What do you mean? What else?
Maybe
have
you want to just fucking relax after doing that, huh?
Yeah, seriously, like that's probably the most monumental thing you've done in your life. That's like if 2 years on, somebody looked at Tom Brady and was like, "Well, what have you done recently?"
Well,
it's like,
not
bro, he
for-
won 7 Super Bowls.
Not for nothing.
I
but
did football.
Tom Brady's teenage daughter would say like, "Oh yeah, you can't stop fucking talking about the 6, 7 rings you got, Dad. Shut up already.
Well,
Like,
I mean, she wouldn't say that because the divorce, but
Yeah.
Oh, you better not talk back to me, son, or I'll kiss you on the lips.
there's a difference between like her like playfully jabbing at the fact that that's all he talks about, and the fact that they're like unironically criticizing him for not doing anything recently.
I would say the teenage daughter is vindicated because teenagers do that.
I wouldn't say that Hank and the others are.
That's true.
Yeah, sure. There's that. But they're probably annoyed by Scott's very fluffed book.
No, I'm sure.
So, I don't know. I think it tracks character.
Actually, we don't know if the book's fluffed.
That's true. He was reading it out loud for the terrible intro. Sorry. Right.
Yeah.
I would say if the intro didn't turn into just him reading his own book to, how great he is, I think I would have been more critical of it, but I really like
kind of
that.
realized like right away that he was definitely reading something because
Yeah.
like they mention in supplemental material, I think in like Hawkeye or something, or Ms. Marvel, they mentioned that he has a podcast because, he's a white guy. What
I
else
forgot
is he gonna
about
do?
that. Yeah.
And they mentioned his book previously too. So I was like, oh, this is either his podcast or his book.
That makes sense. It's funny. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
There's almost something here. Like they have a half a second where Cassie's like, oh yeah, all the people who got displaced because of the blip. Moving on. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Stop doing that.
No,
Stop
that is an overall MCU
That's an
criticism.
overall MCU.
They've been
criticism.
doing that for a while
They've
now.
been doing it since Far From Home. That was the one right after Endgame, right?
I noticed it in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier is egregious because that's the one where they actually try to address the
They
blip.
try
But
to,
My
yeah.
point is, they keep doing that where they're like, oh yeah, the fallout from the blip. Moving on. And it's like, stop. Then they get into the quantum realm, and this is where the film starts to fall apart for me.
Really?
They spend an hour jerking off Kang, building him up. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking go. Jonathan Majors, he's going to be the big bad. I like that they're mixing it up. Thanos didn't even appear on screen until 2012.
And he said like
He didn't say
one
anything.
sentence.
He didn't say anything. He
Yeah,
just
he
looked at
smiled.
the camera. And as far as I know, that was like a last minute decision from Feige. He was like, yeah, fuck it, put him in. He doesn't have any speaking lines until Guardians of the Galaxy 2 years later. They just kept teasing him. They teased him. But then you have Kang, your next big bad, and you're like, oh, right out the gate.
We're just going to shove him in your face.
He's going to be in the fucking first film of Phase 5. And I said this in the theaters after the film ended. What they did in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, if Thanos showed up in Winter Soldier and just got bodied by Falcon, because Kang fucking loses, and he loses hard
Yep.
to Ant-Man
And
the Wasp.
Quantumania.
I like the first 2 Ant-Man movies, but they never have a fucking crazy villain.
No, it's always just a guy with their powers.
Possibly to their detriment. I will concur. The villains in those films are very weak.
Yeah. One of them returns in this one, and we'll talk about it.
We will talk about MODOK later. I would call them street level to an extent. They're villains who can match Ant-Man's like skill set and powers. Because he's a fucking, as he puts it, a divorced con man.
That's what
probably
makes-
in his 40s.
That's part of what makes those movies so bland and boring, is because everything's just the same level as each other. Like, great. I get to see more Ant-Man versus Ant-Man.
But then we
Whereas-
get to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania,
Yup.
where he's fighting a multiverse conqueror,
Yeah.
and he
Who
beats
can
him.
literally eviscerate people
With a
to
just-
less than atoms with a
Literally
fucking
has
wave
the
of his
fucking
hand.
delete key.
Yes.
And Ant-Man wins. That's bullshit.
That is
It
an
is
underdog
bullshit.
story. I've seen
Nah.
it
It
in
is
Rocky.
not underdog.
I've
seen that
seen
shit
it
done
done
all of cinema.
80 million
He
times
does
better.
not
Should
deserve. He does not deserve
underpowered
that
heroes
W.
never beat overpowered villains in cinema? Is that not
They
a cool thing
do,
to
and I hate when it happens like
You
this.
hate when that all happens.
Ah, thank you for your straw man argument,
No,
Jake.
I'm saying this is what you're saying it is, and you're criticizing it for it.
Yeah, and you're making it sound like I have to now criticize every single film to make my point.
No,
here.
but what my point is that you're saying that this is a problem with the movie. I'm pointing out examples where it isn't a problem, and I assume you wouldn't give a
I mean,
negative
you
review.
haven't given an example. You've just saying other films.
So far, Rocky is an example, yes.
You didn't. I
They
didn't hear
have
you
the
say
same
Rocky.
level of power.
They-
They're both just guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but clearly Creed is established, not Creed, other Creed, is
Yeah.
established as like a fearsome foe, and Rocky's just some dude.
Yes, but
Creed doesn't
Creed
throw
can't-
punches that like shatter rib cages instantly and turn them to paste.
Look, if you want me to sit here and think, I could probably pull up Terminator, just one. I could probably pull up other examples, but like I'm not going to do that. My point is, just because an underpowered hero beats an overpowered villain doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
I
think
think it
when
is in
you're
this
setting
situation.
him up
as
to
as
be
the big bad of the arc, and you're like, Kang will return. It's like, okay, cool, let him come back. He got bodied by 2 Avengers.
No,
What's he gonna do against Captain Marvel? He's gonna die.
So, It depends. We don't know the context in which he's returning. If that version is returning, it's probably not. We have like 1,000 more Kangs on the way.
Which they did show.
So,
yeah.
I mean, there are ways like a storyteller could do some interesting things with this, is what I'm saying.
If it keeps being a different Kang, I'm going to get divested.
Well, we've
It's
only
the
had
same
one.
reason I have no care for Loki. It's a different character than the one I've like grown with and watched die. I don't care about an alternate version still having adventures.
Sure.
If you want me to care about the character, keep them in the story. Don't just keep hot swapping them out.
That I can see. That is absolutely interesting. That's a good point, and that's probably my biggest fear with this entire saga.
Having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah,
Where
saying
they just keep killing Kang and bringing him back.
Bringing him
Because then
back.
he doesn't feel like a bad guy.
Yeah,
He doesn't feel like a threat.
I felt the similar way about Loki. Side note, I love the Loki show, but one of my big problems with it is that they're pretending that this is, what it is.
They in the first episode of Loki, they have a scene where Loki watches everything that Loki did.
Yep.
Post Avengers, so that they can speed run him through the character development, so they can get him back to where he was in Endgame.
That is an excellent scene. I will just say.
I will agree with you, even though I don't like Loki. That was a very good scene.
The larger point, which is that doing this across the entire saga, because this is the multiverse saga, so the multiverse is everywhere, doing this opens the door to say, well, who cares when anybody dies? Although,
This is technically the second Kang who's died, because I know
Before-
how Loki ends.
right, and before the multiverse ever showed up, Marvel has been the, hey, he died, but now he's back in the next movie universe. I mean, the only character that I can think of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the only character that I would say is major enough to have died and not returned is probably Ironmonger from Iron Man 1.
Ultron? But he's Vision, and Vision died and came
He's
back
not
again.
Vision.
Vision's
He's
a
not
part
Vision.
of Ultron is in his brain.
That's
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
That's a
read.
Quicksilver being Evan Peters type thing.
But he's
I
not,
don't
he's just
know.
Todd or whatever.
I think there's a difference here.
Or
between
that's a
Vision
Loki
and-
not being Loki, but kind of being Loki thing.
I think
Gamora?
I think
Gamora, it's Gamora not being
Gamora.
Gamora, but is Gamora.
No,
thing?
I'm saying I think Ultron and Vision are distinct enough where I would absolutely label Ultron as a big villain who has just not come back.
All right. And even if you
They
are
did a thing with him in What If, but who fucking cares?
right, but like even if
What
you
If doesn't
granted that,
count.
even if we ignore Vision, even if we ignore What If,
It's really funny because I feel like it's 2013 all over again, where I'm sitting here and I went, "This is what you did with Kang. This is what you did with the fucking Mandarin. What the fuck is this?"
okay.
Once again, the villain is the linchpin around all my criticisms.
I think the fact that he loses for me does not negate him being an awesome villain. He did some
He
awesome
is really
shit.
cool.
He's great.
Jonathan Majors is
He's awesome.
killing it in the role.
and it's not
I
really
like
a
the,
mystery.
I don't. It's not an accent, but I like the voice he's doing, where he like enunciates
Yes.
every word.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's like he's speaking in capitalized words.
He's speaking in time.
He's literally speaking Times New Roman.
And I
this
like
is-
that-
This is what I imagine Times New Roman sounds
Yeah,
like.
literally, and that's actually
We're
really
all
funny.
speaking in Arial.
Pretty much. But I really like that choice too, because this man is 1,000 years removed, so he would have a different accent, which doesn't exist anywhere in the world now.
I also liked the hints of like what Janet got up to in the quantum realm. I thought that was neat because 30 years is a long time to be trapped somewhere.
Yeah. I like when they touch on that. It's interesting.
It's very
And
interesting.
I can say this movie, besides one thing, is actually pretty visually appealing.
I love the visuals.
the CGI was very good
For the
which-
most part.
For the most part, the green screen was actually pretty decent. The lighting matched for a lot of stuff, which
Yeah.
is my major criticism with fucking
Thor 4.
Multiverse. Multiverse has some of the most atrocious green screen in the MCU.
I love the visuals. I love the art
Yeah.
direction of this. I was thinking that.
98% of the visuals in this film are not the problem with the film.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
they're incredible.
May I ask, what is the 2%?
Bro, if you show me MODOK one more time, I will piss.
I think we should talk about MODOK.
MODOK is,
time?
hilarious.
Oh
It's
my God.
absolutely time.
All right, so I saw a leak of it online.
I
also
didn't.
saw-
I
saw
didn't.
the
I
same
didn't.
I
leak.
went, okay, that cannot be real. That looks like shit.
Okay. Let me set the table for this. This theater is more or less silent. MODOK first unmasks. I think I was the first one to laugh,
A lot of people laughed.
but a lot of people fucking laughed.
A lot of people were laughing.
For the next 2 minutes of film, I had to like roll over and not look at the screen, or I would keep laughing,
was
and I
bad.
felt bad. I didn't want to disturb
Dude,
people.
Friend of the show Jackson was sitting in between you and me when
Yep.
we were watching this movie. After like 5 minutes of him chuckling, I finally rolled over and I went, "Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to watch the movie,
Bro, It's Marvel's fault they put that thing on
Oh, it
screen.
looks terrible.
It's Jamie, pull up a picture of MODOK.
I don't want to pull up a picture of MODOK.
I'll edit this. I'm not doing anything
Yeah,
tomorrow.
fair
Here's
enough.
a picture of MODOK.
Yep.
Here's the best part. Circling back, MODOK is Yellow Jacket. They're the same guy.
Sure.
So it's Darren, who I just
Darren.
complained about.
I thought that was actually a very interesting thing to do with him.
Absolutely.
Love that. However,
but
why?
I'm not done. Then they cut to Ant-Man and they just show a fucking like scene from Ant-Man and his head is not the same shape at all.
Yup.
No, it's
It's
so
so stupid.
so
I like
funny.
what you
they
said-
stretched them out.
What about them incorporating this interesting meta angle of everyone forgetting him because he's so forgettable? They also did that in like, oh, he's a weak MCU villain. Well, he's mentally pretty weak in this film, and I thought that was a really cool route to take him.
No, I thought what they did with him in this film was very good for the most part. And then his story ended, and I was like, that sucked. He gets bodied by Cassie,
He
which
does.
was hilarious.
That was
Yeah.
great.
And then like I don't even remember what he says. And then Cassie's like, Darren, just stop. And I'm like, you two don't know each other. You two don't know each other at all. You
Yeah.
have no personal connection. You should not give a shit. And he's like, what do I do? And she goes, just don't be a dick.
Which, by the way, may be the best line in the film.
That
That's
was a
so
good-
funny.
It
It's
is
so good.
That is one of the few times in this film I actually laughed.
I
And
actually
then-
laughed.
I'm not done yet. Kang's got his fucking bubble shield up because he's getting attacked by, get this, ants. Big
Wow.
ants, I'll give him that. And then Darren flies in and he goes, my name's Darren and I'm not a dick. And then he slams into the shield and I don't even know what fucking happened. But then Darren spins out to the other side and apparently he's fucking dying. And I'm like, what happened? It happens so fast and it's just such like a quick like explosion of like light and noise that I did not register that Darren took a fatal wound. And then he's like in the corner and he's like dying and he's like, I died in Avenger. And Scott's like, sure, man, whatever you say.
Yeah, you got it, Chief.
But the way the scene is framed and the way it all happens,
You're in.
I genuinely did not think he was going to die. I was waiting for him to be like, oh, never mind, I'm fine.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the MCU has done that, I'm pretty sure. I can remember that happening.
No, actually, I can't think of a single time that's ever
I
happened.
could have swore there was a point where like, oh, hey, I'm dying, but it's taking forever. That's Deadpool. Never mind.
That's
Continue.
Well, it's basically MCU
that's
now.
technically MCU now.
Yes, it is.
But anyways, just the framing and like he's spitting up not blood. It's white. I
Spit.
Oil.
hope it's spit
It's probably
or
spit.
lubricant or cum. And then he just dies. And I was like, the way the scene is shot and framed and the CGI works, it doesn't look like he takes a fatal wound. He looks like he just like slams in, flies around. He got fucking the shit beat out of him by Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It didn't work for me. I was just like, oh, he's actually dead.
I think if they kept the mask on him and never showed me what was underneath, it wouldn't have been as bad. Because the mask thing looked pretty intense. It looked like a machine.
I
But
don't
like the
know.
thing with MODOK is he is just a giant fucking human face in a chair.
Yeah, how do you adapt that without changing everything about
You
the
make
character?
him give him that mask, and then it can break off at the end a little
And
bit.
then you see his
and then you
face.
see half of it, and it's not as funny the whole time.
I
You know, don't show me that the whole time. I couldn't take it seriously after that. I really couldn't.
they show his fucking little ass too when they put him in
Yeah,
the
they
suit.
did.
That's pretty great.
So
Yeah, I like MODOK as a villain. I love Kang as a villain. Scott, I think, has the most development here than in both of the other two combined. I think he's more of a character in his own films now. Wasp didn't have her character development in her own film last film. It was called Ant-Man and the Wasp, and she didn't do jack shit but punch people. This, actually, there is something there. Janet has way more to do. Hank has
See,
more to do.
I am gonna challenge you on the Hope thing. I really felt like Hope took a back seat in this film.
it was
she-
more for Janet.
It was
she in a-
absolutely about Janet.
I agree that it's more about Janet, but was Hope in the front seat last film? I disagree.
More in the front seat than Janet.
Well, yeah, more than front seat Janet, but I don't think that Hope was ever like one
No,
of the
she
main...
had like a whole arc with her father last movie.
Yeah,
What was the arc?
They
they argued a lot.
They did argue a lot. I
Because
can't recall off the top of my head. To
He
be
didn't
fair,
want her to
I haven't
have
seen
the
this
suit
movie.
because he didn't want the same thing to happen to
Yeah.
her that happened to Janet.
Oh, yeah, that was resolved in like a scene.
But I would say Hope's really just here to shoot people. I don't think she really went through any development.
She does more here than in the other one.
No.
I
I think it's almost equal, which is kind of bad for both films.
Either way, I think still Janet's a excellent character in this
Oh,
movie.
big ups for Janet.
Big ups.
Yeah, P. Fifes.
Hank Pym.
Michelle Pfeiffer is very
Admittedly,
attractive.
Hank Pym is probably the best character in the first Ant-Man, but I
Absolutely.
think he's still a
He
strong
takes-
presence here.
He doesn't do as much in the second one, but he has the whole thing with Lawrence Fishburne in the second one, and it still feels like he doesn't do anything.
It just feels like a sitcom. It doesn't really feel like a movie.
I think they should have killed Hank Pym in this movie.
I agree.
I agree.
I think they should have killed somebody in
Yeah,
this
I
movie.
agree with that.
Holy shit.
Hank and Janet both
I
should have
shared this
died.
with Ian on the way back. I genuinely thought everyone except Cassie was gonna fucking die.
Okay, so in the third act, after Kang exploded, but not before Kang's dead, when the portal's open and they're going through the portal, Kang stops Scott from going. I thought if Kang kills Scott, Scott sacrificed himself to keep Kang in the quantum realm. If that were to happen, literally like 8 or 9 out of 10.
Oh, dude, if that had happened,
Holy
we
shit.
would not be having we would not be having a discussion or a debate or
About
an
Kang
argument
being a bitch.
about this film being bad.
No.
That would have saved the entire film for
It
me.
would have
been
solved every
If he
problem I have
fucking-
with the plot.
If he just
almost.
shoved his fist through Scott's chest and just fucking murdered him,
Yep.
I would have been like, this is cinema.
But it's Scott doing so because he prioritizes saving the world
And
and,
that's
his
a-
daughter.
And that is a great end to his arc.
Excellent end. And
It
I
would
was
be
like,
perfect.
wow.
It would be so good.
And there are so many Ant-Dash people in this film that in the Avengers, oh no, Ant-Man's not there. You got like Ant Wasp. Or
You literally
frickin'
have Wasp
Cassie.
right there.
Wasp.
Cassie's
Who is,
taking over the
who is
mantle.
arguably the more competent of the
Right.
two.
And then Cassie clearly is taking up the mantle. She's got the suit now.
New sidekick.
She's an ex-con now. She's getting her father's footsteps. So, like, I don't know. But on a real note, like, there's enough supporting characters that, like, Black Panther 2, where you can carry it on without the main character. This would have been the time to kill Scott.
I agree, absolutely. That is also one of my
However,
big
Disney are
criticisms.
cowards.
They are cowards.
They should have
Yes.
killed Finn. They should have
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to talk
fucking
about Finn.
cowards. Disney
Even
is
John
not gonna do
Boyega said that.
anything.
Dude,
Cowards. Oh, we can't because then we won't make money on our
especially
Fuck you.
because the multiverse. If you want to have your cake and eat it too,
Which
it
they
can
do
be
every
on-
time.
It can be on Ant-Man. I don't care about an alternate universe Scott coming back to like actually say goodbye to his daughter in Kang Dynasty. That would be good.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. But you,
Yeah. No, I agree completely. This would have been it.
it was a
Cowards.
And
Fucking Peyton
that
Reed.
sanked the movie for me. That absolutely tanked the fucking movie for me. I was like, you can't. I felt like Jesse Pinkman. You can't keep getting away with it.
It's the same vibe, different energy. Let me elaborate.
Very. No, I agree. I absolutely
Because
agree with what
I
you're
was
saying.
really enjoying the film up to that point. Had that happened, it would have skyrocketed.
Oh yeah,
But because it
was-
didn't, I'm still just enjoying. I'm
it would
lukewarm
have.
on it.
It would have felt like for me if that had happened, it would have been like a video of like a guy like tripping over himself, stumbling, and then catching himself right at the
Yep.
end, where it's like, okay,
This-
it was
yeah.
a little bumpy to get here, but we got there.
This
in the
would have
end.
been like maybe top shelf MCU. Like
Top 10 at
maybe
least.
top 10.
Top 10 at least.
would've been
just-
amazing.
Just because they should just call it Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. Ant-Man fucking dies.
Yes, with the swear and all.
Yeah.
To deter
First
children.
MCU film to have an F-bomb in it. Not in the movie, just in the title. They pulled their punch, and because of that, Kang has suffered.
Yeah,
As a character,
he seems
Kang
like a
has
weak little
absolutely
bitch.
suffered. Hindsight is 2020. Maybe we'll come back around at the end of Phase 6 and be like, holy shit, Kang, what an
My man
amazing...
said Phase 6.
Yeah, that's when Kang Dynasty comes out.
Bro.
Can I mention something about the 10 rings and Shang-Chi?
Sure.
In the trailers, there was big speculation. I think we may have talked about this, that, the rings in the trailers of Kang's thing would be connected to those Shang-Chi rings.
In hindsight, I don't know why we would have thought that.
So I might think that more now. In Shang-Chi's post-credits, right?
Yep.
They say, hey, the 10 rings are, we don't know the origin.
beacon from like
A
space.
beacon from somewhere, and we don't know the origin. We don't know what's going on with them. But we do know that if you interact with the 10 rings, you can control them depending on what you're doing with them. Their color changes, or what kind of person you are, their color changes, and stuff
I
like
think
that.
it's just whoever it is.
Whoever it is, the color changes, whatever. And you can use them like a weapon with only thought,
Yeah.
right? Kang's ship/empire that he built from the ship, Kang's ship-looking thing with the things, not only visually are reminiscent of them, but
They also worked with thought.
they're neural connected. They
Mm-hmm.
move based on his thought. And remember when that laser dude shot the orange laser at him and Kang caught it midair
And
and
turned
turned
it
it into
blue.
a blue one and fired it back at him using...
Yeah.
I mean,
Using
I don't know.
Psycho.
I think there's more evidence here than there ever was before this movie came out that they would be connected.
You know what? I'm not going to call you that stupid. It tracks because of the things you said make sense.
I know they're all anecdotal, but a lot of anecdotal evidence does line up to something. So I don't know. I see the inklings here of like, hey, they're
I'll
going one
reserve
step
judgment
further.
for further information.
Because the thought thing is the most important thing there, not the blue thing. Who fucking cares if the laser change color?
There's
But-
2-3 different like layers to like, this lines up with that pretty well. And now, obviously, I could be talking out my ass, clown take time, but as it stands right now, I'm kind of about it. I think they're connected. I'm going to go and make that prediction right now.
Can I make fun of the script of this movie for a second?
It's so bad.
There's a lot of weird cliche dialogue in this film, especially in the conversation with Bill Murray. It's a lot of, oh, you don't know what she did. Ooh, like, just
which, by the way,
the most boring dialogue.
What did she do? Because my understanding is that Kang conquered it, and Janet was a freedom fighter.
Yeah, against. You know how many
Against
people
him.
died because of you because she helped them at first, but then tried to fight against him? Like,
That's what I thought they were saying. I
Yeah.
thought Janet helped him at first, and then she switched sides.
No, she just
but no, she
healed
was just
him
good
and then,
the whole time.
Yeah, she was a freedom fighter the whole time after she discovered about Kang.
Yeah, and it's like, are people blaming her for like helping him? How the fuck could she have known?
Yeah, Hank said it.
She
You
only
couldn't have known.
Yeah, the only reason she finds out is because she accidentally reads his mind.
Yes, however, like, she still did that, though. Like,
Yeah, but it's.
I'm not blaming her for it. No, don't get me wrong, but like, I see why.
No, I know what he meant.
I'm not blaming her for it, but I see why that, to the outside observer, she is directly relevant to getting Kang that powerful.
Yeah.
He would not have been that powerful were it not for Janet.
I guess, but I still think like punishment doesn't fit the crime here. It was an
No,
accident.
but I'm not saying that like, oh, involuntary is not like innocent.
Why isn't Kang just spaghetti Ant-Man?
That's a
He
big
literally,
thing.
yeah, no.
So-
he has the delete key.
Let me hop over to the side of the room that hated this fucking movie.
Yeah, that's
so,
right, the correct
okay,
side.
here's the thing. Kang has the delete key on his
He
hands.
literally deletes 50 people and then
It's-
punches.
It's not even gone reduced to atoms. There's nothing.
Yeah, before I criticize this scene. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yes.
Love that.
Holy-
Please, more of that.
There's a scene where he just spins around with
Yep.
his hands out,
Yep.
and I was kind of mad because at the end of it, you can still see people running. I'm like, he should just be in an empty field.
Yep. And then when the three mains show up to fight Kang, Kang stops blasting. He's like, all right, bet, it's go time. Let's go at
I
it.
used it twice and missed both times. I kept track.
Worse. I wish it was just that, but worse. Actually, they fight him, which is a very fun scene. He blasts Ant-Man with it, and Ant-Man flies back into a wall.
It's a different blast.
It's
not
Yeah,
blue!
he set the face
From
with
his
stun.
hands!
All
Set the
of
face
his
with
blasts
stun,
are
bro.
blue,
Why would he choose a weaker blast for an Avenger?
because he's like, ah, man, the script says I can't kill
Yeah.
Ant-Man for some fucking reason.
Yeah, that's like what I'm about. Like, I get it if, like, you know, the one thing, the story direction, but consistency, man. Blue beams do something.
Imagine if he just fucking deleted Ant-Man in the middle of the fight. And
I'm not
everyone
saying
just
that.
stopped. No, I'm saying that. And everyone just stopped, just like,
Oh, fuck.
run!
First of all, 10. Second, but
Ant-Man 3. Ant-Man fucking dies.
Ant-Man gets a fist and they can't get fight. Cassie. Huh?
straight up. But,
That
like,
picture of fucking Andrew Tate.
I'm saying that, like, that action scene there, don't have Kang accidentally cross or blast intentionally with
How
Ant-Man.
about when he gets fucking mauled by ants? Just
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, well, yeah, sure, there's like a shitload of ants. You know, some are disappearing. Maybe his blast needs to be wider. They didn't invent wide
Why
blasts.
doesn't he have an
in
AoE
1,000
blast?
It's been a
He does.
1,000 years.
They fucking show when he's dominating the things in the mine sequence that he goes "Rrrr!" and just wipes out people. He doesn't do that. Why not just do that? That's fun. Do that.
I vaguely liked the probability scene, the Schrodinger's cat box.
That was pretty cool.
It was neat. It was a good idea. I don't know if it was executed well.
I don't know why Janet tells Hope, "Don't let that thing get big. Don't fix that."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they both fix it.
Yeah.
I would have thought
I
Hope
also
would have
thought-
been trying to stop him from doing it.
and we would have
but
had like
she
Ant-Man versus
helped
Wasp.
him do it. And then what are we gonna do with it? Why did you help him do that? Janet told you no. That didn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
Uh,
Hope flies in and helps Ant-Man immediately, even though Janet was like, we
I
can't.
thought Hope was flying in to help Ant-Man take it so that Kang wouldn't get it.
No, she said,
No.
"Don't make it fixed," because that fixes it.
No, because like what, like okay, if you know that like a rival gang is gonna do a heist on a thing, hypothetically you could yourself heist the thing first.
Or say, "Hey Scott,
But it's not a rival gang. It's a friend.
hey Scott, if he gets this, he'll destroy the universe."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "But he has Cassie. We need to figure out another way to get her." And
And then they fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an MCU
Well,
film.
I think she helps Scott not die also in that case too. But that's
she did help Scott not die, but then they go back up, devise the plan.
They don't even devise a plan. King just shows up and bodies them, and I'm like, you really didn't think this through?
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely not.
There's a better way that scene goes that makes sense because Janet told her that he cannot have
It's
it.
wild because there's only one writer on this script, and all the other Ant-Man movies have had multiple writers.
Well, one guy had to make funny.
I fully agree the script could have been better. I'm not saying it's
Yes,
airtight
some-
by any reason, but I don't think it's a bad script. I think it
I
does
think
the
it's-
job well.
It's weak.
It
I wouldn't
wastes
say
its runtime.
I wouldn't say bad, because it's not all bad. There is good character development here. There is good character here. That being said, some of the dialogue's really, really predictable and bland.
I agree.
And on top of that, there are some plot holes that don't really make sense. Like I just said.
On
with-
topic of the dialogue being cliche and bland, it has the less of the cliche and bland dialogue than both of the other movies. Easy, hands down.
I don't know.
I don't know if
I
I agree
think-
with that.
I'm not, again, that's not a defense for this movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, cliche dialogue is
My
bland in any
problem-
case.
My problem with the first two Ant-Man movies is that they both feel like comedy, just comedy.
Mhm.
Like, and that's not what they've been built up to be in the grand scheme of the universe, right? You have to have a mix of what they're supposed to be. But the good thing about those two movies is they knew what genre they wanted to be. This movie went completely away from comedy and then tried to have the drama elements, tried to have the high action elements, did have the science fiction like fantasy
See,
elements.
but the scenes where they veer away from comedy, I thought worked way better than, say, any of the side characters backing up in the other movies or anything like that.
I agree. Michael Pena's not in this movie 10.
Yeah, literally. Like,
Not
I
even
think
mentioned.
it feels a lot like Thor 3 versus Thor 1 and 2, except I didn't like Thor 1, as opposed to where I do like Thor 1.
I think my problem with this movie in relation to how it, because you can't, it's really hard to judge a movie in the MCU as a fucking movie because of
hard.
what it's supposed to do. They dropped so much from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
What do you mean dropped?
Like
Well,
side
like,
characters.
The
Oh,
side
yeah,
characters,
sure.
well, you not have your fucking friends anymore?
Do you-
They're not there?
Do you want to see more
No!
scenes with
No,
them?
no, 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 wait. That's not what I'm saying. But you can't just drop things like that because they're not liked without some
I
kind
don't
of
know if they were
repercussion.
dropped because they were not liked. I think it was just dropped for story relevance.
Story relevance.
They do go into the quantum realm pretty quickly.
Well, let's even give them that. Like, let's say they weren't liked. Great. Let's drop them.
No, that's terrible. You
wanna
you
keep-
you keep trying and editing and adjusting them so that people come around to them.
Or
You don't just drop shit because it's not popular. That's how the fucking
that's how
DCEU
DC
worked.
Yeah,
That's why the Suicide Squad is an improvement over Suicide Squad.
barely.
It is. Even you agree, and you didn't like the
I
movie.
said barely. 0 and 3 are not a lot different, but they are different.
Dropped some annoying shit from that movie and added some better shit. I mean,
Yes, it's an edit and a tweak.
like, sure.
You know,
They edited
if
and
you
tweaked-
don't like something in one of these Ant-Man movies, for example, if you don't like fucking Ant-Man, you don't like Scott Lang, you can't just say, "Oh well," like they did with Captain Marvel because she's not fucking showing up ever again. Apparently,
What?
she's not even. Where is she? Where's
She
Captain Marvel?
She was in Ms. Marvel. The Marvels comes out this year, dumbass.
I didn't watch that shit.
I don't know. Like, I would say, like, they did tweak and they did improve almost all of the mains of Ant-Man. I think if they added the side characters, even if they tweaked to improve them, why the hell are they in that room when they're getting
No,
sucked in?
I agree. I agree.
No, I'm not saying that's not the main detriment, but like it feels very disconnected from the first two.
Yeah.
It feels like this shouldn't have been an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Not a solo Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
I
It doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie, and that's to its benefit and detriment at some parts.
would say it's-
liked that the Ant-Man movies were low stakes. Not everything needs to have crazy Thor levels of power.
Would you rather have seen Ant-Man 3 where it's another businessman out for revenge and he's got an Ant-Man suit and they're fighting? Because I wouldn't want to watch that shit.
I
No.
don't know because that's just a summary.
Of both Ant-Man movies.
And all
And
the Iron
I
Man movies and the Spider-Man
Both
movies.
Ant-Man movies are better than this one, so I
No.
guess yes.
I wouldn't say that's the plot of all the Spider-Man movies.
I'd rather have, regardless of quality, I like risk-taking. I like different types of
I
things.
will
I won't
give you a
disagree
prop
with
for
that.
taking a risk. However, maybe don't give Peyton Reed the risk because he's not a great director.
I'll just say this: I'm all for risk taking, but that means sometimes the risks don't pay off, and I think this is a situation where
yeah.
the the whole is less than the sum of its parts. There are parts of this film that I like. I like what they did with Janet's character. The effects are gorgeous. Scott and Cassie have a really good dynamic. But at the end of the day, the overall product from start to finish had something in it that I just couldn't get behind.
Okay. I mean, I obviously disagree, but your fundamental point is true where, you know, if you take risks, they always risk. That's the point, obviously.
Yeah.
So they could potentially not work.
Take
And
a
they didn't work for half the people.
I reserve the right to not like what you put out.
Right. It's funny. 50% Rotten Tomatoes. That means that half liked it, half didn't. That's us.
That's, yeah.
I
literally
think
we literally cut Ian in half.
Yeah,
I
straight
think
up.
the biggest thing for me that gives the movie a little bit of a sore spot is the last part with Kang and how he just fucking dies. If they all go through the portal, he tries to shoot them, misses. Or, how about this? Have him fucking slogging through that army of ants, mowing down. Portal closes
Show
a little
me
bit
the
too late.
Conqueror.
Show me
Yes.
the Conqueror. And he goes, fuck, there's still that piece of tech.
Yeah.
Have him have something with that. That way, next time he's battered, but you see him, oh my god, there were so many fucking ants. How did he get through all that shit?
And
show the slog. Show me Kang.
And you can have the reason why he doesn't fucking just attack immediately is like, oh, you got fucked up from that. He's got to take some time, build it back up. You know?
Yeah.
I think they could have made smarter decisions in the third act with
Yeah,
the story.
what Ian is describing are all, I would say, agree. Those are better versions of what could have been. Were something like that to occur, this would have been propelled to like an amazing movie.
Oh, yeah. I think we've made that point very clear.
But as it stands, I still think it's all right. I think it's solid. I'll take this over a generic, crappy, boring origin or type villain story again. I don't want a movie like Ant-Man 1 and 2 again. I wasn't about it then, twice in a row.
Especially since they both feel very much like the early Iron Man movies, but worse.
Yeah, they're doing the same shit, and I really like that they're just not doing the same shit now. I like
Happy they're not doing the same shit. I just wish maybe a better writer would have been good. So the
or
script,
even just somebody to give a pass on this and change some things.
Yeah.
Boom, you got yourself a solid story.
Second-
Get back the entire writing staff of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
that is the issue.
You know what? Who wrote Morbius? Get those guys
Oh
on
yeah,
there.
hire them for more projects, you
The Madam
dumbass.
Web guys.
Yeah, because they got hired again after that by the same company.
again.
And
For
Dracula
Madam
Untold,
Web.
still their best film.
I just
why is
think
that true?
you just give either. I think you might just need a change in direction. I know I'm a big Peyton Reed slanderer because he's not real, but like Ant-Man 1 and 2 are both just like generic comedies, and then you changed it up completely to something like this. Maybe he's just not the guy for something like this.
Now I say he would be the guy because I would be if they make Ant-Man 4 in this tone and style and they go crazier. Fuck yeah, count me in. It could be better. Who knows?
Maybe get a writer who is good at writing.
Sure.
And makes the dialogue good instead of, wow, you know what she did? Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
that
dialogue
guy.
is tough. Easily.
Oh,
One of
I
the
just
toughest
didn't
parts.
tell you. Get rid of that. Unplug that now. You know, like
yeah.
there were some very jilty sentences. Anything Bill Murray was fucking terrible. Oh my god, he was so bad.
I don't think he was that bad. If
He
he was
was
in
not-
more of the movie, I might have.
Not good.
His character was uninteresting.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
very
true.
boring. Very bland. A lot of weird dialogue from his character. Just I just have such. I'll give a concrete score. Very heavy 5. Boy, oh boy, is this film a cacophony of MODOK making me laugh and then Kang being really cool, but then Kang sucking and dying at the end for no reason. It's like boo.
I'll stay with
but also yes.
7. I'm putting this pretty much on par with Mud's favorite film of all time, Iron Man 3. So I think I would slightly edge Iron Man 3.
You know what's funny?
Iron Man 3 is a bad film.
I also slightly edge Iron Man 3 over this. Yeah. 3.